So I'm like, screw you, dude. Ichi-hime is definitely not going to happen. I mean, Kubo wants you to think it's going to happen because he set all the groundwork, but really, it's going to be Ichiruki at the last minute. So I tell this guy this, and I give him some other points, and he just looks at me and just thinks I'm a freaking weirdo, right? So then he goes on like this 10-page rant about why he thinks Ichi-hime is going to happen. Seriously, he recited this thing from freaking memory. It was freaking scary. So then I go on my own 10-page rant about why Ichiruki is going to happen. We argue about this for days and days on end. I'm like, dude, fuck you, dude, fuck you. So finally, you know, I mean, there's no way we're each going to agree to this, right? I mean, I tell him, like, oh, it's going to happen where, you know, there's going to be some final fight in Bleach, and then Rukia's about to get killed, and Ichigo shows up and saves her, and then she looks at her savior, and he's like, oh, this is the person I fell in love with the whole time as a reincarnated Akayan, because we all know her and Kayan had a thing going on. So I tell him this, but he doesn't care. So, you know, we keep on, yeah, he, well, I mean, he's the one that drew the knife first. I mean, no. Well, I had to fight back. Down by the lake in an oil drum. Okay. Okay, thank you, officer. Bye. What are you doing here? It's freaking Tuesday. Oh, wait a second. Oh, shit, the chapter's out. Alright, well, just remember, kids. Fanfiction kills. Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, here to review Bleach chapter number 545, entitled Blue Stripes. And yes, I did find my tie, so we're good. Alright, so this chapter, the feel of it's a little bit different. We were kind of dealing with some serious stuff last couple chapters with the Von and Reich and everything. This time we kind of go back to the human world, which, you know, Kubo does this from time to time. Well, he'll have like the middle of some action scene or whatever, then we'll go back to something a little bit more calming. And we, to be fair, we get like answers to like 2 or 3 questions in this chapters, but then we get like 5 or 6 more questions. So yeah, it's one of those. So chapter opens up at the Kurosaki Clinic. Yuzu is preparing lunch, and wait a second, what's that saying on her apron there? I love you, Barry. Oh, I get it! It's funny because I love you very much, and Ichigo's name has Barry. It's a pun! You see, it's funny because it's fun. I actually did get a chuckle out of that when I first read it. Anyway, we get short glimpses. We get short scenes of Isshin and then Karin. Then we have Yuzu lament the fact that she wishes Ichigo comes back from training camp soon. Training camp. Yeah, that, sure, exactly like training camp. Like Camp Crystal Lake, but okay, whatever. Also, I have to say one thing here, just a little thing, a side note. This, one chapter is like the first time we've seen Isshin actually work on a patient since, like, then. I mean, it's been a long time, certainly. I think there was even a meme or something a while ago, and if I find it, I'll throw it up. I think there was even a meme about that. It was funny. So then we cut over to Renji and Rukia, who are training in an unidentified location. Well, I say that they're training, and I really thought they were, like, fighting each other to begin with, like, with the wooden swords. But, no, they've just been standing still in this, like, giant shrine-looking place, and whenever the bells ring, they freak out, because apparently they're standing still, but the concentration of Ryatsu there is either, I don't know if they mean it's more dense and the matter they can't breathe, or it's not dense enough. Let's just relate Ryatsu to oxygen here. If there's too much oxygen or there's too little, either way, you're going to have difficulty breathing. Well, if there's too much oxygen, you'd be dead, but whatever. Anyway, they've been here for a very long time, apparently, and Renji in particular I was really kind of interested in, because after Ichigo arrives back at the Ho-Ho-Den, after he learns the truth about his, like, past and everything, Renji's gone. So I always assumed that he would have continued on to the next palace without Ichigo, and maybe when Ichigo next to the next palace, he'll see him there. Not exactly what I think will happen, but it does leave the door open for some things. And Rukia is here as well, who I guess finished healing at Korinji's palace. Speaking of Korinji, Rukia receives a phone call from him. Very interesting how he got her number. Even Renji brings this up. I think that was kind of funny. It's kind of just like, it's like, you know, you have your close friend. Like, I don't know if Renji is like into Rukia in that way. A lot of people, I mean, I always thought he was. Some people have thought it's more of just like a brother-sister type relationship. It's not really romantic, but I could totally see it's just like if, you know, you're dating somebody and then some, you know, guy that you don't like or some guy that you think is weird calls her, like, how did he get your number there? That's interesting, you know, whatever. So he calls her up, and apparently Korinji calls her up and says that Byakuya is now, I don't know if he's fully healed, but he has, you know, restored enough so he can actually get up and walk around. We cut back over to Korinji's palace very briefly, who states that Byakuya is hands down the longest person to ever take to heal in his hot springs, which, yeah, I don't know if that's reflecting the fact that Kubo wanted to kill Byakuya. I've heard so much debate over this. I really don't feel like opening up old wounds right now, but I have heard that Kubo was actually planning to kill Byakuya, and then the fan backlash was just so huge. Once again, that might not even be the case. He might have been planning to do this to begin with, because it works on, like, both levels. It can work in the fact that if Byakuya were to die, that would just, you know, like, main character death, that would send, like, all these characters, you know, ambitions to beat the Vonden right through the roof. You know, Renji, Rukia, Ichigo specifically, but other people too. But on the flip side of that coin, it also helps Byakuya's character development. Byakuya is a very prideful and honorable warrior. He's not used to getting the shit kicked out of him on a daily basis. So the fact that he got beaten so much to the point of, like, he was like freaking hair's breadth away from death, you know, the fact that he got beaten down this much is a major blow to his pride, is a major blow to his honor, and he's really going to try to work to get stronger and defeat maybe he like rematch with Asnod. That'd be freaking badass. So he realizes now there's a lot of stuff he has to work on. So it can work on both sides of the coin, but you know, I always assumed Kubo wanted to kill him off just because I think the main character death would have been a little bit more impactful than the other one, but it could work either way. So we get a mention of Byakuya maybe not being quite as healed yet as he steps out of the tub and, okay, hold on a second. Stop, everybody, stop. Pretty sure every fangirl in the Bleach universe was thinking what I think they're thinking, so you might have to check them for consciousness. We might have had a serious level 6 fangirl moment here. Okay, now guys, if you're one of the lucky 1 in 5,000 people that have a girlfriend or a wife that likes to read Bleach with you and she's freaking out right now and you don't know what to do, it's okay. I've dealt with this kind of fangirling before. Okay, first thing what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to run to the store, get as much yaoi as possible. Then you're going to want to come back to the house. You're going to get as much Doctor Who after that. Most likely David Tennant, because I've seen he's more of a fan favorite. Though Matt Smith is also a viable substitute. Then you're going to want to... Edward from Full Metal Alchemist works good for this too, but... with a garden hose, okay? Now, if you followed all that, you should be golden. Alright, let's finish. Okay, so after that moment, Renji gets over his excitement that Byakuya is healed very quickly, because then he realizes that after Byakuya has been healed, like Rukia and himself, he will obviously have to continue on to the next palaces after that. So, after he gets healed at Kirio's palace with the food, and then after he gets his sword repaired from Nimaya, he's going to have to go to the 4th palace, which is oh man, what's her name? Oh man. Is it Sentomaru? I think it's that. If I'm wrong on this, I'm sorry. But anyway, they're going to have to go to her palace, which is the 4th one. It's the one right after Nimaya's. And that's not the one that Rukia and Renji are at right now. They're actually at the 5th palace. They're at another one. But they have memories of the 4th palace, and from the way Renji recalls it, it's not a very pleasurable experience. Now, I'm not sure exactly what the implication here is, but it seems that Renji had to strip naked so that, under the impression that she is going to make him a new kimono, and he's refusing to take everything off, and then she's threatening to pull his little Renji. Oh, God! The fuck, lady, the fuck! You do not mess with that! There are certain things I am viable. I will stop this review right the fuck now! Alright, anyway, so yeah, the flashback kind of ends there, but... I don't know. I don't know what that's implying, what her powers are. I mean, we've seen she can do the weird shit with the arms. She can pretty much pass through objects and pull things out of, like, buildings that are supposed to be very secure. Well, here's my theory on this, anyway. We've seen that with each level of the Houden, you perform an act or you receive an item that is very trivial and doesn't seem like it's very important. And this has happened for each one. Let's look at, like we had our Korinji's Palace with the hot springs. Take a hot spring, it's something very common, you're like, what the hell, but it ends up healing you. Go to Kiryo's Palace, you eat a bunch of food, it gives you super Ryatsu, it heals all your wounds. Well, it makes you stronger, I mean. Then you go to Nemaya's was freaking Nemaya's, so that pretty much covers the subject right there. With her, I think it might be getting the kimono made for you or something like that. Like getting a new kimono, it might seem very basic to some people, but that might actually be what they're doing with here. Once again, I have no idea what that's going to imply, what the new kimono would do. I'm just noticing the trivial thing that's going to happen here. And the trivial thing with this palace that they're at currently is learning to just breathe and learning to stand up in the dense reishi of the area. Is it Ryatsu or reishi, or is it, I don't know. Ryatsu, I know it's when the spiritual presence coming off somebody. I think reishi is the actual substance itself, so maybe that's what I should be saying right now. Huh. Anyway, though, I'm sure that whenever Ichigo and Byakuya are out at the palace, I'm sure we're possibly going to get more fangirling moments then. So, just remember those rules I told you, and you should be great. So, continuing with Renji and Rukia, the last Zero Squad member arrives in the room, Ichibi Hyosubi, who is, this is his palace, and he's been stating that whenever Rukia and Renji first arrived at the palace, the reishi was so dense that they could not even barely stand up or breathe. Just luckily the fact that they're now able to stand up and gossip is the fact that they're getting much more improved. And they said that they're going to move their training to the inner sanctum, of which they head off to. So, my theories for Ichibi's, which I thought his name was Bonds, or maybe it's shorting for something, maybe it's like a nickname that Kyoraku calls him. Now, I don't know about what's up with the fourth palace and the chick with the weaving hands, but I always assume that one of the Zero Squad members, if the reason they ended up in the Zero Squad is because they came up with some amazing contribution to Soul Society history and Soul Society, like how things work, like with Zanpakuto's, Gigai's and everything, I figured one of them, at least one of them, has to have mastered Kido. One of them has to be the Kido person. So, from what we've seen with Sento, with the chick with the hands, I don't know if she's going to be related to that or if it's going to be Ichibi. If it's Ichibi, that would make a lot of sense. And I always figured it would have to be somebody to teach Renji, because we all know Renji sucks at Kido. And this would actually work really good, because Rukia is also, she kind of prides herself as being pretty knowledgeable of Kido, but she's by no means a master. She certainly has the foothold, because Byakuya is, probably training her before, so she certainly has a foothold to become a master of Kido, but Renji has no talent for it at all. So if Bonds or Ichibi is the one that created Kido, it would make a lot of sense given all the dense of the reishi. Maybe they have to they get accustomed to a certain level for them to properly use a certain level of Kido or something. Maybe we'll get a finally good apt description of what Kido is, because we've seen it for it's been around since the beginning of Bleach. I think Rukia actually used Kido in the first chapter of Bleach. Yeah, she used Sai on Ichigo, but we've never really gotten a good scientific exposition chapter on what it is, how does it properly function, because clearly there's a talent here. Not every Shinigami can just whip out Byakuya whenever it takes. Hanataro has no talent for it. Kenpachi probably doesn't have any interest in it. Renji doesn't have much talent for it. So I would be kind of happy with seeing an exposition chapter on that. What way do the incantations play in it? How high do the numbers go? How is the number system even work? How does healing Kido work? Stuff like that. That'd be. Well, actually, I think we already know how healing Kido works. I think even Hana explained that. But just an explanation on Kido. I'd be cool with that. We cut over to the 5th Division Barracks very briefly, where Shinji is yelling at Hiyori over the phone, stating that he wants her to go perform a task for him. Then we cut over to the Visor hideout, which we haven't seen in, I don't even freaking know how many chapters, where Hachi arrives with a package from the Soul Society. Funny that they have a postal service in the Soul Society. Even Hiyori brings this up. I'm love that. Did they just did I either send a random Shinigami to just give Hachi the package, or did they just drop it down to they open a Senkaimon and they just chuck the freaking package through and just bonks Hachi on the head, and he's just oh, okay, whatever. The package is apparently from Mayuri Kuretsuchi and from Shinji alike, and they both stated that it's time to begin the Operation Stop the Soul Society and the Living World from Stop the Universal Tear from happening team. And We've seen this very briefly in the past, like in chapter like 482, I think, where he already noticed like a small little rip in space-time, and that space-time rift was the cause of, like, she smelled Shinigami through that rift. So something with the breakdown between the living world and the Soul Society, and I think it probably had to do with the fact that when Quincy's kill Hollows, that unbalances everything, and we don't know. I mean, we haven't actually likely talked about this in a while, the whole unbalancing thing. It was last mentioned by Hidotomo, and we all know what happened to Hidotomo. But I think it has something to do with that. There's certainly a rift here happening, and I'm not exactly sure why else it would be happening other than that reason. You might be saying maybe it's Askin, because Askin's shown to have dimensional abilities, and, you know, does this hole look like that hole? Maybe it has some relatable thing there. I'm not sure. But at any rate, I don't know what's going to be in the package. Maybe it was the thing that Mayuri Kuretsuchi was working on back at the lab that we saw Akon like freaking out about. Maybe it was something like that that maybe would help bridge the universes, help them from stop them from colliding, something with that. The interesting here, though, is that the other visors don't really seem interested in this. Like, Hiyori's just like, okay, let's go do this, and Lisa and Love are just like, oh, you're dragging us into this too? I'm like, two universes, you know, colliding together. That's sort of a big deal, you know? That's just like Stephen Hawking witnesses this happening, just like, oh, two universes crashing. Okay, whatever, that's not a big deal. I have more stuff to worry about right now. It's just like, yeah, big deal. So, last thing in the chapter, we have Ichigo's friends Tatsuki, Keigo, and Mizuho? I can never pronounce his name right. Never could. Anyway, they're talking about why Ichigo's been disappearing again, kind of the same stuff, except before, whereas they didn't have any idea where he was going, now they know all about, you know, the Soul Society and everything like that, so they have kind of an idea what Ichigo's doing, and they kind of know why he has to do it, but at the same time, you know, they're worried about him, of course, they're his friends. So then we have a shadowy figure appearing who turns out to be Shunsui, which, very interesting that Shunsui would go here himself as the head captain. I mean, they don't know that, but the fact that he's head captain, and he has all this shit to worry about right now in the Soul Society, and instead he chooses to go to the living world to talk to Ichigo's friends, this is a big deal. This is going to be something, like, huge later on, I can guarantee it, because there's no other reason why he just wouldn't send, like, even just another captain. It had to be him, really. Mizuho actually recognizes him from the Battle of Fate Karakura Town, and I really like this, that he kind of, I don't know if he talked to Ichigo at all about this, if he tried to figure out, you know, what's going on, but they basically just had this big revelation, like 17 months ago, that, yeah, the afterlife is real, there are these things called Shinigami, they're real. I mean, I would try to learn as much as possible. Like, if I just find out that that was happening, and, you know, Ichigo is my friend, I'd be like, okay, well, how does it work? How does this work? How does the hierarchy system work? This is like a whole other completely different universe that you just confirmed its existence to me. Kind of interested in this. You know, so, you know, he knows a decent amount. He remembers Shunsui from the Battle of Fate Karakura, and Shunsui's actually flattered about this, except for the fact that Mizuho isn't a girl, which, kind of, sorta. And last thing of the chapter, though, he states the reason he came there is that it involves Ichigo and his friends eventually parting ways from each other. Very open on what that could represent, what that could mean. I think I was in a chat over Skype a couple days ago with King of Lightning, Rankiman Jotun, Anime Rick, and the Elite Ace, and I think it was King of Lightning who brought up the fact that at the end of the Bleach, he thinks that Ichigo is going to eventually have to choose between either his human life, like as a, you know, maybe marrying Orihime or whoever, and having a regular human life, and becoming a Soul Reaper, and becoming, like, having a go with that life. And it makes sense. It really does, because, you know, he's split here. He has two different sides of the coin. After the fighting is all said and done, what's going to happen? I mean, he can't just keep doing the substitute thing his whole life. I mean, that would ruin his life, essentially, if he kept doing that. I mean, he has to pick, you know, because we've seen with his friends, whenever even when he's only going off and just being doing the Shinigami thing just for, you know, a couple days, you know, it tears on his friendships and everything, and he certainly cannot have a normal life if he's, like, going off and, you know, fighting Hollows every other Tuesday. You know, it's a major issue that he's going to have to confront soon, and because the series is ending, because this is the last arc, it's something we're going to have to bring up right now. I'm sure someone also has brought this up, you know, like, way back earlier in the series, but this is when it starts to hit home, and this is when you're going to have to start thinking about this. My opinion on how it's going to go is that Ichigo's going to have the choice. I don't know if it's going to be presented by the Soul King, or if it's going to be, you know, just something he's going to have to come up with on his own. I want to think that he's going to, you know, choose the life as a human, because that's like the obvious choice you think of. Like, he's going to pick friends and a life and a relationship, and maybe even he'll have a child at the end of the series over just, you know, being a hero. He'll have to pass the torch on to somebody else. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's certainly what Shunsui's going to have to bring up, the fact, you know, that Ichigo's going to have to choose someday. Maybe it's something greater than that, though. Maybe it's not simply choosing between Shinigami and human. Maybe it's something like choosing between human and a higher power. Maybe he has some relation to the Soul King. Maybe it's something greater than that. I don't know. But it's certainly going to revolve around that decision that Ichi is going to make. And I think because Shunsui, I don't know why he had to go by himself to talk to Ichigo's friends about this. Maybe his friends are going to play a crucial role in this arc. That would be something insanely interesting, because that's never happened before, like them to actually play a crucial role here. But yeah, I'm looking forward to how it's going to go. I think next chapter he's going to elaborate on this a little bit. I don't see any cutaways here. I think this is a strong note it ended on a relatively, it seems like a relatively innocent chapter, but really it actually has a lot of stuff included. So thanks everyone for watching. Tekking101 signing out. See you guys.